What's up everybody, it's Brenton Brown from Forza Tuning and Performance. And today I'm going to give you the first kind of in-depth look at the Hellephant engine. I know we did the unboxing video, you can check that out. But I'm going to kind of go around now, we have a little bit of time just to check it out and kind of give you some impressions, some information about it. So it's based off the Hellcat 6.2 engine, but it's a 426, so it's a 7-liter engine. One of the main differences between this engine and the other ones are it has an all aluminum block, whereas all the other Hellcat based 6.2s are all cast iron. And it has a bigger supercharger. So on the Hellcats, it has a 2.4 liter supercharger. On the Red Eye Demon, it's a 2.7, and now we're up to a 3-liter supercharger. So it still utilizes the same case, same lid. It's just they extended the rotor pack out even longer, which is how they got the 2.7 blower. And the profile on the rotor pack is different, so it increases the volume of air it can move. Some key differences that I noticed, number one, obviously the blower is bigger and it has the same case, but the supercharger snout is drastically bigger. And the reason for that is, you know, it's very common to port and polish the snout on the supercharger. That's a common modification in not only Hellcat-based vehicles, but GM stuff as well. So on a production-based level, they're not gonna CNC a snout like that. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna make a new casting. So what they did is they took they made a new casting, and it's bigger to replicate a CNC ported supercharger snout, and they put that on the front. They utilized the same throttle body that's on the Red Eye and the Demon, and what they did is they came up with an adapter plate here to transition from the bigger snout over to the stock throttle body. So I'm going to kind of go over in general just some stuff that I see, and then some stuff that I know for sure we're going to do that I can talk about. Cylinder head wise, it has the same cylinder head castings as the Red Eye and the Demon, so no difference there. This does utilize ARP head studs, whereas the other engines have regular head bolts. The aluminum block is not only just the aluminum construction, it's actually a little bit different in the size. So it will bolt in just like a regular Hellcat engine, but if you look where the combustion chambers are, the side profile of the block is a little bit bigger. Personally, I can't even really tell by looking at it. The only reason I know that is because I've seen 3D CAD images of this engine versus the regular 6.2 liter, and you can see on the image that they're bigger. So just by the naked eye, I'd probably have to look like side by side to even notice it. Obviously, you can look on the front of this engine and see right off the bat some major differences between the regular Hellcat type based engines and this one. This is utilizing an ATI 10% overdrive crank pulley, which is a common modification. We do this at stage 2. To basically have the space for this, they've machined out this timing cover. So whereas we take and machine the timing cover on all the cars that we install this on, they've got a different timing cover, a new casting that has this clearance already. So this looks very similar, actually exactly the way it does when we do the cars. A lot of people were asking, did they pin the crankshaft on the Hellephant engine? And the answer is yes. I have not physically taken the balancer off, but I've removed the bolts and looked in there, and there appears to be a Woodruff key lined up with the keyway and the ATI balancer. So once I get it off, I'm going to confirm. It does look like it's recessed back a little ways. A little bit further than I would expect. So I'm probably gonna take a more in-depth look at that when we actually get this apart. So let me go on ahead and preface that we are going to totally disassemble this engine and see how strong the internals are in the engine, and then determine whether we're going to upgrade the internals past even what's in here now. We're shooting for around 1,500 horsepower on this engine. So I wanna make sure that the internals that are in there stock really what they're capable of. So I'm guessing that they're probably not going to handle that kind of power level, at least for a long time, and be reliable. So, but we'll see. I don't know until we get into it. The supercharger pulley, it has a Hellraiser pulley on it, and it's a smaller diameter than you find on the regular Hellcat or Demon, Red Eye platforms. It's made by Hellraiser. It's got it printed on the front. I'm sure it's still the same clutch tub pulley deal like the other cars. Once we get the supercharger disassembled, I'm kind of anxious to see what all they've done as far as any kind of internal modifications, if any, over the other superchargers. I know there are some differences in the 2018 and up superchargers as far as the back of the rotor pack. The 2018 and up are stronger, more durable in my opinion. So they might have done some stuff internally to make this even stronger. One aspect of this supercharger that you know, a lot of people, you know, their most common thing is spinning the supercharger faster. So whenever you get a rotor pack like that, and you keep extending the length, especially in an OEM production-based supercharger, you have to limit the amount of overall RPM that the blower sees. So the RPM on this engine is 6,200 RPM, and my guess is it's because of the speed that the supercharger is spinning. They're trying to limit the overall RPM of the supercharger, not the actual internal components like the rotating assembly's limitations. So I'm going to do the math on this and see, but I don't suspect that we're going to be able to reliably spin a supercharger a whole lot faster, if any, than it is right now. Again, because the rotor pack is longer, just like a drive shaft or anything else. The longer it gets, the more chance that you have for run out or deflection, especially at higher speeds. So what we definitely don't want to do is tear it up. So we've got a few different ideas based off this that I can't really release in this video. I'll show you when we actually do them, and I'll show you an in-depth of what we're going to do. But the pulley on here, obviously it does not have a coating. So if you have one of these engines, a good, you know, probably modification that you could do is, even if you're going to use the existing pulley, is I would put what's called like a constrictor grip coating where the belt rides, because it's very slick. If you feel it, it wouldn't take anything for some belt slippage to occur. Throttle body, I covered that. We're definitely going to increase the size of the throttle body. The stock Red Eye and Demon throttle body, in my opinion, is perfectly sufficient for anything that's at around 1,000 wheel horsepower. Once you start getting above that, the stock throttle body is kind of hindering power, and at that point I think it's a good idea to increase size. So what we'll probably do is go up to like 105 millimeter throttle body, something like that, because you can physically look at this and see that this is kind of choking it down at this point, and this engine is 1,000 horsepower at the flywheel already. We got the aluminum block. We know the rotating assembly is stronger, it's upgraded. I don't know how much yet. It's 7 liters in displacement, so we've got, you know, obviously a bigger displacement engine. We don't have the, you know, the orange or the red valve covers, orange on the Hellcat, red on a Demon, black on a Red Eye. So they've stuck with black. The block, since it's aluminum, is not painted red or orange. They just left it bare aluminum. Fuel injectors are definitely different. I haven't taken them out and sized them yet, but we're going to upgrade them regardless. And we'll probably do actually aftermarket rails and everything else. These Hellcats use a non-return fuel system, and this is the feed right here. So the fuel comes in and feeds. It's from a pump. It's controlled by a fuel pump control module, so it's a pulse width modulated pump. And so the fuel supply comes in here. It feeds up this rail and then across the back and up to the front of the rail. So one thing you have to be super careful is on these engines, they run in closed loop all the time, which means the fuel trims can correct even at wide open throttle. So you really have to pay attention to rail pressure. If your rail pressure drops at all, then the injectors at the front of the rail are not getting as much fuel as the injectors at the back of the rail. And even though your O2 sensors say that your fuel trims are safe, you could potentially be running the front cylinders lean and damage them, which we've seen engines with this occur. So that's one thing to note. And what we'll probably do on an engine like this is put a dedicated triple pump fuel system in it. And what we'll do is we'll come off with bigger aftermarket billet rails, and we'll come and feed both fuel rails uniformly, and then we'll do a return system where they come out of the rails on both sides and feed into a fuel pressure regulator. That way we can ensure uniform, equal fuel delivery to all the injectors across the rail. Other than that, it's not, like I said, they use the stock heads, so we're definitely going to upgrade those. We're going to go with Thytec ported heads. In my opinion, that's the best cylinder head for the Gen 3 Hemi platform. We're going to do upgraded valves, so we'll do Inconel exhaust valves and hollow stem titanium valves. We'll probably change out the head studs to the ARP, the tool steel head studs. They're a lot more expensive, but they are drastically stronger. So that'll definitely be, that's what we use on all our built engines here. If we do upgrade the internals of the engine, I'm not sure how far what we'll do. Our normal package consists of Gibtech pistons. They're all custom made for all our stroker engine, and everything's hard coated. So the piston tops, the skirts, they're all coated. All the bearings will be coated. We typically use Windberg crankshafts. Now, being a 7 liter, this is probably going to be a custom crankshaft configuration if we go that route. And this is barring that the crankshaft is not strong enough for what we feel we're going to push with the engine. The rods will be done by Carrillo. They make custom rods for all our engines. So we'll see once we get it apart. Other than that, like I said, this is pretty much very similar look to the Hellcat engine. Uses the same map sensors, same layout, same belt drive configuration. You can see this tag on here. This is basically specifying that they recommend Pennzoil 10W60 synthetic oil. All the other Hellcat engines call for 0W40. So since this is 1060, that tells me right off the bat that the clearances in the bottom end are different in the Hellephant motor than any of the other Hellcat platforms. So we're going to definitely use the weight oil that they recommend. I do not recommend changing that or doing something other than the manufacturers recommend. And likewise, in all the Hellcat-based platforms, we always use AMSOIL 0W40 Signature Series. So we stick with what the engineers intend to be running the engine, and that would always be my suggestion. So other than that, this kind of pretty much wraps it up. I don't know what else to say. We have a lot of stuff planned for this engine, just not stuff that I want to release at this time. I'd rather, once we already have it done, show you all and then highlight like why we've done it. So if you have any questions about the Hellephant engine or anything else, feel free, drop them in the comments. We're going to do frequent build videos with everything to do with this car. So you're going to see the car start to finish. We have a lot of one-off, super interesting stuff that we're going to do this car that I think is going to make for a great build series. So if you like the video, make sure you like it. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and drop any comments that you want to in the comment section, and we'll get back with you. Thanks for watching. See you again next time.